Poll results. Let's take a look at what we got. Boy, didn't change much. Defense, you guys just wanted the defense. Big chunk, coaching, and the offense, less than 10%. That's amazing. If we had asked that a week ago before this Oklahoma game.
Flip it.
Do you think?
Yes.
That's just stunning to me. All right.
Defensive coach Josh Heupel.
There you go. That's right. Thank you very much for playing. We appreciate it.
Defensive guru.
Woody Hayes.
Yeah. All right. Josh Heupel's team, we got rapid fire, so one question for each, and this is going to be Josh Ward. I'll start with you. Josh Heupel's teams have finished 11th in the SEC in penalties in 2021, then dead last in 2022 and 2023. His teams at UCF had tons of penalties as well. They have averaged 63, 68, 67, and this year 64 penalty yards per game. It's pretty steady. This year, though, they're getting a lot of personal foul calls. Had 5 yesterday. They would have had 4 if not 1 canceling out against NC State. Are you worried, Josh, about the penalties, or do you dismiss them because Heupel's teams are always penalized?
Well, I will worry about them in big games. So when they go to Georgia, I'm going to worry on the road of penalties like that because the margin is so thin. When I see Tennessee's defense, though, playing the way that it is, so typically with these penalty issues, every year we're going to talk about them being some level of concern. Often I'm concerned because if the offense gets set back and the offense deals with issues, I don't know that Tennessee's going to be good enough to deal with that because the defense isn't going to be able to save them. Now the defense can kind of save them. I also wonder the personal foul issues. If Jacoby Thomas was talking about they play with this mindset of wanting carnage. Well, if that's their mindset, there are probably going to be some penalties that come out of that. So overall, because of how good the defense is, I have less concern than I typically do.
Okay, very good. Jimmy, your question is about Nico Iamaleava. Let's put up his stats from his first 4 games, if we can. There we go. The completions and attempts, the passing yards, touchdown interception, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. Jimmy, F to A+. Grade Nico Iamaleava's season to date and explain your grade.
I'd give him a B+. The competition the first 3 games wasn't very stiff, and he put up some good numbers. Oklahoma was a better team. He didn't play as well, I didn't think. I didn't think he was as accurate against Oklahoma as I've seen him before. I also thought that his pocket presence was a little bit iffy in terms of feeling the rush and knowing where folks are. But overall, I think he's done a really nice job. So I'd give him a B+. I think he sees the field pretty well. But sometimes I think with his internal clock with the pass rush, he needs to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker.
He's been really good, I think. He hasn't been great, but that's exactly what I expected. I mean, I think most people who are realistic about it thought this is a guy who's only played 1 game before, started 1 game before. It's going to take him a while to learn that kind of stuff. This is your first road game. I think that's a very good grade, B+. All right. Will, through 4 games, James Pearce, college football's greatest player, according to the preseason stuff. Through 4 games, James Pearce has 3 tackles, 1 solo tackle, 1 tackle for loss, a half sack, 5 hurries. Grade from F to A+, James Pearce this season.
Yeah, if you're just saying a player grade and you don't come in with the hype, you give him a C, right? But based on the hype, it has to be a D. I mean, just hadn't impacted the game.
The rain clouds have blown in.
I know.
But I know what you're saying.
He had a chance to make 2 sacks and he missed them yesterday too. So if you come out of that game, then all of a sudden I bump you up to a B because all of a sudden big games you showed up, you stepped up, and you had 2 big plays. And so he's not far away from getting to where you're like, he just needs to take over one of these games and have a couple of these plays. He just hadn't done it yet. And some of it is they're dropping him and they're doing some things with him. And so he's not always just his hand in the dirt pass rushing every time. So I think there's some things that they're using him differently than they did last year. That's taking away shots on rushes away from him. So it's part of it. He's not going to have as many. He's still a great talent. He's still got the ability, and he's beating his guy off the ball and winning his one-on-one matchup. He's just not getting home.
I was going to ask you, and I think you just answered it. Is he sacrificing some numbers because he's being used differently? Yeah. And I guess that you would have to say he's taking the marching orders and doing it. Let me give you another question, though. Is there any chance, last year you had Tyler Barron on the other side, and he had the good year the year before, and people were kind of looking at him, and James Pearce was the guy that kind of took advantage of people looking at Tyler Barron. Now there's no Tyler Barron. Is that costing? I mean, you got more attention on you, But also, you would think that would open the door for somebody else to become the next James Pearce.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think, on one of those plays I watched yesterday, he did beat his guy. He got around, and the guy got there first. And so the other part is you've got other guys winning their one-on-one matchups, and some of those guys are inside 2 yards away from the quarterback, and they're getting there quick.
Okay.
So at times it's like maybe you only had two guys that could win one-on-ones. Now you got four guys that win one-on-ones.
Okay, there you go. There was a break in the clouds. That was a little sunshine that came through there. All right. When we come back, did yesterday's win on the road help to quell concerns about Heupel's veer and shoot offense on the road? Coming back, our VFLs will discuss that next.